You are now listening to the Late Night Sports Report.
Blasphemous, but they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Overrated as hell.
We ain't talking about the game. We're talking about practice, man.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me?
Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. I'm your host, Michael Scott, and boy, do I have a great show lined up for you. Tonight's show is presented to you by Platform Sports Media, your one-stop destination for all the latest in sports news. Find us online and social media for all your sports-related content. Since you're already listening, make sure you subscribe to the show. It's available on platforms like Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever podcasts can be found.
Now it's time to lead things off.
The NFL is reportedly cutting its preseason schedule in half due to COVID-19 concerns. Pro Football Talk reported that the league is canceling games scheduled for Weeks 1 and Week 4 of the preseason. The league is expected to officially announce the decision Thursday and comes on the heels of last week's cancellation of the Hall of Fame game between the Dallas Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers. Who cares? Preseason football is 100% straight garbage. I'd rather play hee-haw with the fuck-around gang and watch Tom Brady split his pants during a charity golf event while trash-talking Charles Barkley. Hall of Fame game? What a snoozer. ESPN's Nick Friedel is reporting that Chris Bosh initially committed to the Chicago Bulls during free agency in 2010 before forming the legendary Heatles trio in Miami with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. Initially, the Bulls' plan was to secure a commitment from Bosh and use it as a springboard to land either LeBron or Wade. According to more than one person in the Bulls organization, Bosh said, "I'm coming to play for the Bulls." Straight up. He said, "I'm coming to play for the Bulls. This is where I'm going to be." Apparently, the Heatles' character is questionable. LeBron promised not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6 titles, but more. Bosh promised Chicago he'd arrive and bring help. Now it appears that both lied because LeBron left for Cleveland after just 4 seasons, and even worse, Bosh never showed up to the Windy City. In 10 years, the Bulls haven't signed a marquee player and are still clearing cap space. Dare to dream, Chicago? Today is Bobby Bonilla Day. His agent took the New York Mets to the woodshed back in 2000 while negotiating a buyout for $5.9 million the player had remaining on a deal with 1 year left. Instead of taking a cash payment up front, the team agreed to give Bonilla $1.19 million per year for the next 25 years. The payments were deferred and started in 2011, and the annual pay includes an 8% interest rate and will end in 2035. The Mets were getting a better return in an investment with Bernie Madoff and thought Bonilla's agreement would be small potatoes until everything blew up in the team's face when Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in prison for operating the largest Ponzi scheme in U.S. history. Somebody get Bobby Bonilla a beer for hiring that agent. Get that agent a beer for a job well done, and get the Mets some burn cream, and finally Madoff some ice and Vaseline for his bum, because Madoff and the Mets got railroaded on this deal.
Check out The Source. It's your primary resource for rumors, gossip, sound bites, videos, and what's trending.
Kurt Warner's biopic, American Underdog, found an actor to play as the Hall of Fame quarterback. Shazam star Zachary Levi has been cast to play the lead role as the Football Hall of Famer. The screenplay of the upcoming film will be mainly based on Warner's best-selling book, All Things Possible, My Story of Faith, Football, and the First Miracle Season. Somebody get me a bucket of popcorn, a bottle of B12, and point me in the direction of the nearest Barnes & Noble. I want that book now. I can't wait for the movie and wanted to go cruise eBay in the meantime, searching for a signed edition of Warner's signature elbow brace. Lakers' Dwight Howard may not join his team in the NBA bubble in Disney at the end of July. His coach, Frank Vogel, said a replacement for the bench defender is not in the cards. So far, the team isn't looking to replace him with hopes he will show up. The focus keyword is bench defender. Last season, you were considered damaged goods and all but finished in the NBA. You begged the Lakers for a job and have had a career resurgence. Now, when the team needs you the most, you're going to abandon them? What the hell, Dwight? Sounds like to me, you're still a me guy. Meh. First-year New York Giants head coach Joe Judge apparently is shocked by the high taxes in New Jersey. Judge told the New York Post, "The biggest shock to me when we were shopping were the taxes. I was looking at prices and just thinking, okay, I can just accept it's more expensive. And then a lot of the taxes, I was like, wow. And the variance of towns, we looked in Ridgewood at one point and the taxes were like, it didn't matter where you bought. We're like $60,000. I thought, geez, that better be the best snow removal in the history of the world." Take it easy, rookie. You're not a special teams coordinator anymore. You're in the big leagues. Call Billy back in Boston and tell him about it so that he can tell you to quit bitching and save money by just buying lots of hooded sweatshirts to wear out on the town. When the press starts to turn up the heat on you, just cut the sleeves, bro. You just told one of the richest cities in America that you don't have an Empire state of mind.
It's time to slow things down. Let's run the full court press and touch on today's main topics.
On the latest episode of The Price is Right, Cam Newton and the Patriots. Pretend you're in a crowd watching retired game show host Bob Barker lift a microphone towards his mouth to ask the crowd, can Cam Newton cash in? All of a sudden, the crowd gets worked up into a frenzy. That's the exact moment when reality hits you. New England fans might find themselves in a similar situation this fall at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Can Cam Newton cash in? This is a question I asked during a podcast back in March, just days before the coronavirus changed life as we know it. Right before all the masks and panic shopping to gobble up toilet paper and hand sanitizer. At the time, the price was wrong. This is because Newton was at a crossroads. His stock was at an all-time low, and at just 31 years of age, the former NFL MVP had fallen from grace. Many executives around the league had their doubts regarding his future. Nobody wanted this guy. I'll be honest, I had my doubts too. And the odds are pretty good that I wasn't alone in that feeling. Maybe, just maybe, you shared my opinion. Because unless you've been a diehard Newton fan dating back to his Heisman Trophy days, it appeared that he was both mentally and physically done as an NFL starting quarterback. That question was finally answered on Sunday when the New England Patriots signed the dual-threat quarterback to a one-year, incentive-laden deal to compete for the opportunity to become Tom Brady's successor under longtime head coach Bill Belichick. The move was announced by ESPN insider Adam Schefter via Twitter during the early part of the afternoon. So for Belichick, the price is right. And it's right now. $7.5 million. That's what the deal's going to cap out at with incentives to remain competitive in the AFC East. Perhaps the low-risk, high-reward move will allow the Patriots to extend their consecutive division title streak to an NFL record 12 seasons. Now, go ahead and ask me for my opinion. What I will tell you is that Newton at that price is absolutely worth the pesos. The deal makes me want to throw on a sombrero, shake some maracas, and while I'm at it, wear a drug rug while getting 100% festive on Cinco de Mayo. The deal makes sense for both the quarterback and New England. Newton shouldn't have to give himself a lot of hard time or a lot of trouble mentally beating out Jarrett Stidham or Brian Hoyer for the starting job, and the Patriots roll the dice with the potential to hit big. Very big, like Adam Sandler at the end of Uncut Gems, except without a bullet to the head. Spoiler alert. To many others around the league, Cam was an overpriced question mark. The same franchise who drafted him out of Auburn is under new ownership and ready to move forward in a new direction. They granted their former franchise quarterback permission to seek a trade a few days after many of the teams in the NFL had already addressed their needs at the position. Where exactly does that leave Superman? Well, let me tell you. Lately, that head wrap and scarf that he was wearing last season has left him looking more like Prince than an employed NFL football player. Because of poor timing and a salary north of $20 million per season, Newton's agents were unable to orchestrate a trade for their client only a few days into the NFL's free agency signing period. The Carolina Panthers opted to release the rehabilitating Newton, who was fresh off of foot surgery that ended his forgettable 2020 season. Instead, they made the decision to sign free agent Teddy Bridgewater, who spent the last 2 seasons as Drew Brees' understudy in New Orleans for head coach Sean Payton and the Saints. Through the NFL's free agency period, many teams passed on Newton. Following the 2020 NFL Draft, things didn't seem like they were going to change. Fast forward to yesterday. Belichick signed a player with the potential for massive upside after the market had softened to the point where analysts were beginning to wonder if the quarterback would be able to find a job this season as a backup. The move was made precisely at the right time, for the right price. Belichick is so good at veteran player acquisitions that he leaves you wanting to submerge your head in a toilet of shit just so you can puke, because that's how disgusted you are. When does this guy not find great value? Newton is now back on the horse. Many teams around the league have been left scratching their heads because of the idea of a hungry, healthy, and rejuvenated Newton in New England under the tutelage of the genius Belichick-McDaniels tandem, and it's scary to say the least. Like Adam Gase losing his job in December scary. Kawhi Leonard is on the verge of making NBA history. Like his nemesis LeBron James, the Clippers' marquee player will have the opportunity to win his 3rd NBA title with his 3rd team while playing in the league's bubble experiment at Disney's Wide World of Sports in Orlando at the end of July. What makes his pursuit even more unique than King James is that by emerging from the playoffs victorious, Leonard would potentially become the first player in NBA history to win Finals MVP with 3 different franchises, all before turning the age of 30. It's shocking to say the least, and to say the most, it'd be historic. The star has managed to stop 2 different three-peats en route to being crowned a champion and Finals MVP. He's a dynasty killer. In 2014, a young Leonard emerged from being a relative unknown to lead the Spurs to a Finals victory over James Heat. During that series, he managed to shoot 61% from the field, a Finals MVP record. Then, he abruptly ended the Hamptons 5 Golden State Warriors dynasty last season by leading the Raptors to clinch their first title banner. During those playoffs, the dynasty killer poured in 732 points, which is second in playoff history to only Michael Jordan. In just 9 seasons, the former San Diego State alumni has had more steals than committed fouls, 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and the highest winning percentage of any player in NBA history. So with his career trajectory trending towards all-time great status, it really leads us to the question of why isn't anyone really buzzing about Kawhi? Well, the answer is really quite simple. LeBron James is in pursuit of his 3rd title with 3 different teams. And in case you don't live here with the rest of us on planet Earth, he happens to play for the Lakers. Why is this relevant? Because like the Clippers, who reside in the shadows of the Lakers, it's still Leonard who resides in the shadow of James. It's not surprising considering LeBron has elevated himself to the level of being included in the greatest to ever play conversation over the past few seasons. Heck, the overshadowing between these 2 teams and players is so obvious that Clips owner Steve Ballmer just completed a deal to purchase the Inglewood Forum so that his team doesn't have to be the redheaded stepchild of the elder Lakers at the team shared Staples Center in downtown Los Angeles anymore. So pair that with the notion that Leonard moves in silence as an individual quietly achieving things never before seen, and what we have on our hands are all the makings of an epic, multi-generational on-court feud. Not only is it a competition for the title of King of Los Angeles, but it's also for one individual to lay claim to bragging rights that he is the best player of this generation. James' athleticism, although still freakish compared to a majority of his peers, is dwindling as he now exists in the twilight of an amazing career. Kawhi, on the other hand, has a bum knee and appears dead set to load manage his way to a fistful of championship rings. Leonard's Clippers are considered to be among the teams with the best odds to win an NBA championship when league play resumes on July 31st. According to Caesars Sportsbook, they trail only the Los Angeles Lakers and Milwaukee Bucks and have been given plus 325 odds of winning an NBA title. All 3 are considered to be close favorites, whereafter there's a large drop-off to a second tier of contenders. The alternate list is composed of teams including the Houston Rockets, Boston Celtics, and Leonard's former team, the Toronto Raptors. Which LA franchise are you putting your money on? I know who I'm putting my money on. The media is interested in what sells. In this case, it's been LeBron for years that pushes major ratings for traditional powerhouses like ESPN and Fox Sports. Unfortunately for Leonard, he will have to wait for James' farewell tour to end before he gets the opportunity to showcase his talents as the lone, unrivaled star of the modern NBA before getting a majority of the airtime during topic discussion segments on shows like First Take and Undefeated. The only question really remaining is when exactly will that be? Nobody knows when James will finally hang it up. Also, he has an entire cabinet full of his own awards, numerous top 5 league stat recording rankings, and 3 rings of his own to boot. LeBron is a legend, and Kawhi is a legend in the making. Each player is on the right side of history, but unfortunately, both are crossing each other's paths at the wrong time. Still, time waits for no man, and Leonard has been stealing a little bit of the king's crown, piece by piece, for quite a while now.